What happens when the man she once knew, the one she could predict, influence, and emotionally manipulate, no longer exists? When she reaches out expecting the same soft replies, the same vulnerability, the same longing for closure, but instead, she's met with silence, calm, and composure. That's when it starts to sink in. Not all at once, but gradually, quietly. The realization begins to unfold. You're not that man anymore. She thought time would freeze you in that emotional loop, waiting, hoping, hurting. She thought you'd stay accessible, familiar, stuck in the same place she left you. But what she never expected was your evolution. You didn't become cold. You became clear. You didn't stop caring. You just stopped needing to prove it. You didn't disappear. You grew beyond her reach. That's what true transformation looks like. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's internal. It's quiet. It's precise. Detachment not born from bitterness, but from clarity. This isn't about revenge. This is about self-respect. This is what happens when a man stops negotiating his worth and starts living it. And now, she's beginning to realize it. Every time you don't respond, every time you choose peace over explanation, every time she reaches for the version of you she once controlled and finds nothing, you're showing her something more powerful than anger. You didn't change overnight. You changed because pain made it necessary. Now, your silence says everything. If you've evolved into the version of yourself no one saw coming, if you've stopped shrinking to fit who you used to be, then this message is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below if you're done living small. Let's get into it. Number 1. She thought you'd stay the same. She expected time to stand still. She assumed that even if she walked away, disappeared, or played her games, you'd stay rooted waiting. She believed that if she ever came back, the man she left behind would be there, just as open, just as vulnerable, just as available. Because that's who you were, predictable, steady, emotionally invested. But what she didn't expect was growth. She didn't expect silence. She didn't expect self-respect. She thought she could pause your story like a show and pick it back up where she left off. What she never saw coming is that your story kept going without her. You didn't freeze in that chapter. You turned the page. And now, she's trying to reconnect with a version of you that no longer exists. She's reaching out to a ghost. Because the man who once needed her presence has mastered her absence.
Ow!
You didn't evolve out of bitterness. You evolved because life demanded it. Because the pain left you no choice. Because the silence gave you space to rebuild. You didn't wake up one day and flip a switch. You were forged into this new version of yourself slowly. Relentlessly through nights of self-doubt, discipline, and hard truths. And now that you've changed, she doesn't know how to engage. Her usual moves don't work. Her control is gone. She expected the same old dynamic, but the entire script has changed, and she no longer has a role in this scene. You didn't stay the same. That was her first mistake, believing you would. Number 2, you no longer need her to feel whole. There was a time when her attention felt like oxygen, when her presence made you feel seen, worthy, alive. You wrapped your sense of identity around her, validation, how she looked at you, responded to you, made space for you. And when she pulled away, it rattled you. Because back then, your emotional balance lived in her hands, but not anymore. You've stepped into something unshakable: self-containment. You're not looking for completion. You're not looking for approval. You're no longer dependent on anyone to remind you of your worth. That hunger, the one that kept you waiting, heard in the silence. And in its place, something deeper was born. Discipline, purpose, wholeness. That shift, she can feel it now, even if she doesn't know how to name it. It's in the way you don't flinch when she reaches out, in the way you don't feel the need to prove that you've moved on, in the way you carry your energy like it's sacred. You used to chase love. Now you protect your peace. She thought if she cracked the door open, you'd come running. But you're not that man anymore. You've become full on your own. And when a man reaches that level of stillness, he becomes unreachable to anyone who only ever knew his broken version. Number 3. You're unavailable in the ways that matter most. Sure, she can still message you. She can check your social media. She can scroll through old photos and tell herself there's still a way back in. But what she doesn't realize is the version of you she had access to wasn't just physically present, it was emotionally available. And that man, he's gone. You're not just harder to reach, you're harder to affect. That's the difference. Now, she used to be able to pull you in with a glance, a vague message, a breadcrumb. Now, nothing. No reaction, no response. Because you're not playing that game anymore. You've built something stronger than pride or revenge. You've built boundaries. You've built inner peace. You've built a version of yourself that doesn't negotiate worth or beg for clarity. You're not ignoring her out of spite. You've simply evolved beyond needing validation from someone who didn't value you when it counted. And that is what she's feeling now, the weight of your absence. Not as punishment, but as proof that you've changed. If any of this speaks to you, if you've stopped waiting, stopped explaining, and started living from a place of power, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Comment. I don't shrink to fit the past. Because this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your era. This is what Stoic evolution looks like. It's not just about ignoring calls or avoiding confrontation. It's about being so locked into your focus, your peace, and your mission that her presence or absence doesn't shake you at all. You used to live in response mode, reacting to every ping, every message, every emotional tug. Now you live on your own terms, not out of ego, but out of clarity. And that's what unsettles her. She can still reach out, but she can't reach you not, where you are now. Because your energy no longer leaks into places where it's not respected. When a man becomes emotionally unavailable to chaos, manipulation, and old toxic cycles, that's when he truly becomes untouchable. Number 4. You stopped seeking closure. She's the one still searching for it. You used to lie awake at night, replaying every conversation, dissecting every mixed signal, every cold shoulder, trying to make sense of it all. You needed answers. You wanted closure. You thought if you just understood it better, the pain would finally stop. But that was the old you. The evolved dude doesn't chase closure anymore because you've realized it's a trap. You don't need her to explain, justify, or confess. You've accepted what is not what could have been. You made peace with the silence. And in doing so, you took back your power. Closure didn't come through a conversation. It came through a decision, your decision to stop bleeding for someone who kept cutting you. Now, the roles are reversed. She's the one seeking answers. Not because she suddenly understands your worth, but because your detachment has created a vacuum, a silence she doesn't know how to sit with. You're no longer the man pacing in the dark, refreshing the chat, hoping she'll say something that finally makes sense of it all. You're past that. Didn't get the apology. You didn't get the clarity. But what you did get was control, peace, and evolution. Now she's stuck staring into the silence, searching for the very thing. She once denied you closure, but the door is already closed. You didn't wait for it to be handed to you. You became it. Number 5. She lost access not because you blocked her, but because you elevated. You didn't hit block. You didn't post some dramatic, "I'm done" speech. You didn't make a show of cutting her off. You simply rose silently, gradually without needing her to notice. And that's what makes it real. You didn't force distance. You just became someone she no longer knows how to reach. She didn't lose access to you because you shut the door. She lost access because you outgrew the house. She stayed rooted in the same games, the same patterns, thinking you'd keep showing up the same way. But while she stayed still, you elevated mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The man who once responded to every breadcrumb no longer exists. And the man who replaced him, he doesn't respond to noise at all. Now she's feeling that loss, not through your anger, but through your absence. She can still find your number. She can still type a message. But what she can't access is your presence, your energy, your investment, because those things aren't available to people who treated them like they were disposable. That's the highest form of discipline, not cutting people off in rage, but rising so far above the situation that they can no longer reach who you've become. It's no argument, no announcement, just quiet evolution. She didn't get left behind because you pushed her away. She got left behind because she never moved. And you did. Number 6, you're not cold, you're controlled, she'll say. You changed, that you shut down, that you became emotionless, distant, hard. But that's not the truth. You're not cold, you're controlled. You didn't stop feeling. You just stopped leaking. The difference is discipline. You still have a heart. You've just stopped handing it over to people who don't know how to hold it. Before, your emotions ran wild. You reacted fast, spoke quickly, reached out when panic hit. That made you predictably easy to manipulate. But now, you've mastered the space between impulse and action. You've learned to pause, observe, and protect your energy instead of putting it up for auction. She mistakes your calm for cruelty because she never expected you to be silent on purpose. She thought you'd always try to fix it, explain yourself, crack under pressure, but you don't. Not anymore. Your silence isn't a wall, it's a filter. A filter that blocks out drama, chaos, and disrespect. A filter that keeps your peace intact. Stoic evolution doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop performing. It means you don't show your cards to someone who only ever came to play. You're not cold. You're measured. You're aware. You're dangerous not because you're heartless, but because you've learned when and where your heart is seen. Number 7. You're focused on legacy, not loops. There was a time when you couldn't stop replaying the past, the fights, the silence, the what-ifs. You were stuck in the loop, revisiting the same pain, recycling the same thoughts, hoping for a different outcome. But that version of you had no direction, only memories. The memories aren't a mission, they're just noise. Now you're not spinning in circles, you're building forward. You're done repeating the same emotional loops with someone who was never growing with you. You've shifted your mindset from reaction to creation, from thinking about her to thinking about legacy, about what you're building, who you're becoming, what you'll leave behind when this is all said and done. She's still waiting for the old you to reappear, the one who lived in his feelings, stuck in the same story. But that chapter's closed. You've replaced emotional obsession with purpose. She's still watching the door you walked out of. But you've already found another one that leads to something greater than approval or affection. It leads to impact. That's the real shift. When a man stops living in cycles and starts moving in lines straight, focused, forward. She thought she had time, thought the loop would always be there. But while she's rewinding, you're evolving quietly, relentlessly. And you're not coming back to repeat a lesson you've already learned. Number 8. Her influence faded the moment you chose yourself. There was a time when her mood could shift your whole day. One cold response, one delayed reply, one look and suddenly, your confidence dropped. You were emotionally tethered to her approval. That wasn't love, that was control. Silent, subtle control built on your own lack of clarity. But the day you chose yourself, the day you stopped needing her to validate your worth, that's when her influence began to fade. It didn't happen with a big declaration. It happened in your silence, in the pause before reacting, in your decision to stop explaining yourself to someone who never truly saw you. You stopped showing up to prove your value and started moving like a man who knows it. Without that emotional dependency, her power dissolved. Not because she changed, you did. She may still be in your past, but she no longer lives in your mind. Her voice doesn't shape your direction. Her attention doesn't define your confidence. You chose peace over chaos, growth over ego, self-respect over emotional negotiation. She didn't lose you when she walked away. She lost you the moment you realized you didn't need to be chosen to be complete. The moment you stopped bending and started building, that's when her grip slipped for good. Number 9. She doesn't recognize the man you've become. That's the point. She keeps looking for traces of the old youth, the one who over-explained, over-apologized, over-gave. She's testing the waters, waiting for a glimpse of the man she used to manage. But he's gone. Every time she tries to engage with who you were, she's met with a wall of calm, composed indifference. Not revenge, just evolution. She doesn't recognize you anymore. Your silence is sharper, your eyes more focused. Your energy no longer pulled toward her gravity. And that's not by accident, that's the point. You didn't change for her, you changed for you. You're not interested in proving anything or explaining why you're different. You just are. This new version of you isn't emotionally available for someone who drained the last one. You're more reserved, more direct, more self-possessed. And to her, that feels like unfamiliar territory because the power dynamic has flipped and it's subtle but absolute. You're no longer trying to make her see your value. Now she's struggling to understand how she ever missed it. The price of not appreciating someone while they're still within reach. They grow. They evolve. They stop asking to be understood and start living like they never needed to be. And when that happens, recognition turns to regret, but it's already too late. Number 10. The story didn't evolve without her. She thought it ended when the connection broke, that the story paused, that maybe with time it could resume where it left off. But what she didn't realize is this. The story didn't end, it evolved. And it evolved in a direction she can't follow because it no longer includes her. She was the turning point, not the destination. The pain she caused didn't destroy you. It awakened you. It forced you to confront who you really are, what you truly want, and what kind of man you refuse to be ever again. The heartbreak wasn't a dead end. It was a launch pad. Now every day you wake up more focused, more controlled, more free. You're writing a new chapter. She stayed still, assuming your story froze when she left. But yours kept moving quieter, cleaner, faster. Not built on resentment, but on discipline. Not on trying to make her regret it, but on making sure you never settle again. You didn't climb just to show her how far you could go. You climbed because staying down there was killing you. That's the final twist. She thought she ended your story, but really she just gave it meaning. And now, you're too far ahead to explain how it all changed. You've evolved past the part where you needed her to understand. The story isn't over. It's just way beyond. Her reach, you didn't get colder, you got clearer. You didn't get harder, you got wiser. This is stoic evolution. The quiet, focused transformation of a man who stops reacting and starts building. If you've stopped trying to be who they remember and started becoming who you were always meant to be, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She won't recognize who you've become, then that's the goal. This is Stoic Blessing. Your power doesn't come from proving anything.